pretty early into the fight, this guy gave me a flying knee and my nose was bleeding. I got into the clinch, my nose was bleeding badly, and we got into the clinch and this guy started to throw like semi-punches, but much more like sliding through my face, through his whole underarm. I was trying to defend and whatever, and I realized that was not coming punches. I thought this guy is not as good a striker as I thought, but he was making economy of energy. He wanted that the referee stop and start again from far, but he was trying to make me bleed more, because as much more I bleed, maybe the doctor would stop the fight and he would have won that. And he was doing anything to the fight to not go to the ground.
Welcoming Lincon Bad Boy Rodrigues, MMA champion, and been forever in the fitness industry. Is also high stakes poker player, private coach from myself and a few others as well. And skilled in calisthenics and has done all sorts of shit in the fitness industry, basically. Anything else you'd like to add to those qualifications, Lincon?
Since 2008, a big friend of Django Man himself.
Thank you.
2008, man. I heard so much from you before meeting you, you know. I was even a bit starstruck when I met you, because I was training with some poker players, and I heard the poker players, which was super famous and good players already. You was coaching them, and I was like, wow, Jungle Man, wow, you know. So it was really cool to meet you, and finally we are here.
Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you for having me.
Well, I personally admire star fighters. I'm curious about that part of the world, or sector of the world, which I know you've got some crazy as shit stories that made me think like, holy shit. Which we'll get into in a second. This guy's like fucking nuts. Like, I don't even fuck with this guy. Who knows what he can do?
I think you're talking about the bad boy, you know, which was the persona when I was using as a fight. But now it's just Lincon Rodrigues. It's just a nice guy nowadays.
Well, let's start with how did you get the bad boy nickname?
The bad rap, the bad reputation. It's a funny one, because I was on a fight event in Germany, and I arrived a couple of days before the fight, and was having some interviews during the week. One of the German reporters for a special fighting branch, he was on the middle of the interview. Man, he was just such a nice guy, such a good charisma. Great to chat with you here. But when you are inside that cage, you change, man. You are such a bad boy. You know, what happened there? And that phrase stuck. First of all, my inner circle started to call me like that and make jokes about that. And was around when I was using t-shirts, Lincon Bad Boy Rodrigues everywhere. And you know, who was around in that scene still calling me bad boy until today. You know, they call me as a friend. Hey, bad boy, how's it going? Fuck, bad boy is near 50 years old right now. You know, I was like, a bad old fucker. That's oh shit. Can I talk those things on your podcast, actually?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Besides, we're going to our rated R version in this.
All right, we can soft curse. It's okay, because.
Yeah, might as well.
Maybe we have something now and you say to me like last forever, but.
Yeah. Well, how are we going to have a bad boy on the podcast and keep it PG? How does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
it's time for us to grow up a little bit. Even by the way, the Saints curse. So you know, Nareem Baroli, he would curse like a lot. He's a well-known saint. He was the. People don't know this. I read his book, or book about his experience with him. But he was the saint of. What the fuck is that guy's name? One very well-known yogi. This guy turned professor into like a famous yogi in the U.S. But Nareem cursed like shit in India, so it's not even really a bad thing to curse.
Okay,
it can be a saint and curse.
All right, so people that curse still have a place in heaven.
Yeah.
All right, I love it. I love it because just a little side here. When I was a child, my mom tries to explain to me. She was a Catholic lifetime, come from a Catholic family, and she was there explaining. I think I was 6 years old, and I was totally ADHD. I was like all over the place, climbing on the couch and making backflips in the bed, whatever. And while she's trying to give a religion lesson to us. And my two brothers, they're waiting and hearing and saying, yeah, in the heaven, when you go to heaven, it's the eternity. Everybody there in white and peaceful and the angels singing chorus. I look to her. I don't remember that, but she, like every year when I go back to Brazil, she tells me that, you look to me with that smiley face and a little silly, say, Mom, I don't want to go there when I die. It's too boring. Oh, that 6 years old kid, but that version of heaven was too boring. Actually, it was. I hope to tell them this, now that I know that guys that curse can go to heaven too. So it starts to get better, Do hot chicks go to heaven too? Or
do what? Yeah, hot chicks. Hot chicks, yeah.
When hot chicks die, they go to heaven too. So you see.
Good hot chicks. Contrary to belief, there's plenty of hot girls that are great people. I've met them, and I can confirm. They're approved. For whatever my word is worth, we can get a saint on there here at some point. See what he says. I think he'll approve too.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. We're looking forward for that.
Well, speaking of. Let's hear these stories. Let's see if I think your stories are innocent, to be honest. But I think they're heaven worthy. But they're great stories, and maybe some people would have a different opinion. Why don't you tell us a bit more about your career and how you became an MMA champion, especially with like these $800 brawls with back in Brazil.
Oh, but when you're talking $800, you're talking already like a very high stakes in my life,
$100 fights?
I have it on $50 fights, like a couple of them, where was needing to stack a couple of fights during the same evening to go back home with some worth money. We would gamble on our own fighting fee. So if I win, I have already gambled with my friends, like 3, sometimes 5x of my fighting fees. So I could make some money. So when you get an invitation for those very amateur, when I was starting everything in 1996, which was my first fight, which was a bare knuckle fight, no limit of weight division. We have no rounds and very, very few rules. We have a mouth protector. We have our bare knuckles. We could not attack directly in the genitals and not directly attack on the spine was just it. And we could not bite too or eye gouge. That was it. The rest we could do anything what we want and let's go. But the main thing was no weight division. My size, I'm a 5'8" on my best days. And my first fight, the guy was like 6'4" and 112 kilos, which is, I think, around 240 pounds,
How the fuck do you win that fight?
Actually, a few minutes ago, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt friend of mine was meeting with me. We was talking about this fight. And I said to him, look, the fight has no limit of time. And that's maybe story for another time, but I want to prove to my parents that I could be a fighter. And I faked my ID that I was 2 years older so I could fight. I was 17 years old. And bottom line is the guy was 33 years old and twice my weight with 10 inches taller than me. And the guy beat me to death. He beat me for almost 40 minutes. It was 37 minutes fight with no rounds. And he got tired of beating me and I would not tap out. And when he got tired, I was on the button And I don't know if you remember that scar on the middle of my head here. It's from that fight still. And this
really?
guy, yeah, he started to punch me down like this, where was just the weight of his hand and my knots that did not have weight anymore. And he would like that. I got him in an arm lock, an arm bar. And he tapped out, you know, so I won the fight. But as we can curse, I will say the correct French here. He beat the shit out of me, you know.
Well,
and I stand up so proud in my home ground, you know, and the 17 years old kid play that was tough. And for the most incredible thing that you may not understand, I did like it. I did enjoy it. You know, I was on the locker room, like, the people that was on the side checking on the fighters was ready to send me to the hospital already, and it was cleaning me. And, I was looking to my brother. I found my passion, man. I want to live from that. I want to, you know, I want to do that. My brother was looking with that pitiful face, like, God, you know, but yeah, I think, funny. Yeah, that's even hilarious when you think about, but, even nowadays when I do some of my types of workouts, has some part of me that desire a little bit that out of the comfort zone where you treat yourself harder than what would it be in any situation, normal life. So you are prepared to take and be okay with that, with what the world throws on you. I'm not advertising that. I'm not saying that it should to be, or it is a rule to anybody to try or whatever. I just had that proclivity to acting in that direction, you know, that little, yeah. Well. So, but again, I'm much more calm nowadays. I prefer to beat up my body nowadays into like what I did yesterday, a half marathon on the rower machine, for example. That's
we didn't even talk about the triathlons and all that other crazy ass shit. What the fuck? We forgot about that stuff.
No. I'm not a triathlon athlete. I cannot swim. If you put me in the water after 2 minutes, you should take me out with a help. I'm really? A terrible swimmer. Yeah. I do very long distances on the bike. I can beat up myself for 24 hours on the bike. I won some bets on that one.
Really? Like what bets? What bets?
I have bet with a friend from, Japan that I would be doing loops. There in Vienna is a 40 kilometers loop. And I would be doing loops with my bike for 24 hours. And I could not dismount the bike during the 24 hours. And I would have a minimum distance to complete, which was 500 kilometers. The distance was not bad at all. Very doable because majority was very flat. But the main thing is to do not dismount the bike. That was the, you know, so I put a big table in one of those corners of the loop. Mm-hmm. And with all my drinks, all my nutrition was coming from liquid.
Really?
Because I did not want to have a stomach distress and take no one risk for needing to use a toilet that does not exist and get out of the bike and lose my bet, you know? So in that day, I was literally prepared to shit my pants if it was necessary to win the bet. You know?
Wait. So you had attached like a toilet basically, or a way to pee or whatever.
No, I did not have that urge because I was having just liquid meals, like just carbohydrates and a lot of electrolytes. And I put those bottles. I have 2 bottles on my bike, and every time I passed that 40 kilometers loop, I would change a bottle, you know. And of course, I was not operating at the full gas. So 1 bottle after the 2 finish. Every loop I would pick just 1 bottle. Would be totally okay for 40 kilometers. And I was pissing myself. Yeah, I was pissing myself.
This sounds like something that should be a documentary on. It sounds ridiculous. I didn't even hear about this. Wait, so you had like a table with your drinks or something?
Right. And I know that time to time would pass people there in that corner too, other cyclists or runners or hikers. So I wrote a big, how do I, in A3 paper, I put on the table there and I say, please don't touch my drinks. I'm trying to do a 24 hours personal record on my bike. And I remember it was even a funny way. If you want to clap when I pass by, I have a picture of my like this, that on the bike. I'm this guy and with an arrow like this.
Yeah, really.
And yeah, it was fun. Was the first one in that fashion that I understood that I was in another world of pain during, I think, the last 6 hours or so. Totally another world of pain. And
really? Well, how did
you have time through the night, through your thoughts and your ghosts and why I'm doing it or whatever. But sometimes you have such a blissful feeling of being there, you alone, hearing your breathing, fighting your own inner demons, and through the night so silent, So when come the sunrise, it's so beautiful, like wow, and get a second wind and. Of course, it's strange that, say, the next day when you healed, you thinking around, wow, what am I going to do next, but it's a very different way to get in touch with your own self.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not a device does things, nothing. I know that has people in the world that are 10x, 20x crazier than that and do crazy things that I never would imagine myself to do. But it's my way also time to time getting into, what can I do? How far can I go without that thought, That's what we say in Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
Pretty fucking crazy. So a couple of things. How much money was this for? And secondly, how do you get through the pain when you're in 6 hours of crazy pain?
Yeah,
I didn't think it would be that much pain, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it was 24 hours, the whole action. And I want to do it good, the minimal amount of, but I cannot miss the minimal amount of kilometers. So at the end, I did 536 kilometers. It's not an amazing number to into ultra endurance cycling. Know that people can go much further, but also with much better preparation than what I did back to there.
Really?
Yeah, my limit was to test mentally, and that thing you cannot get out of the bike. So of course in any ultra endurance event, you can dismount your bike, you make your stretch, you go up, and then it's, but you would be laughing if you know, how much I bet on that. And I would prefer not to say, because when I get bet with people, everybody will base on that and say, yeah, now I can bet a little with him,
Oh, really? Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's because I have also my somehow I have the inner wish to do that. I think I would have done even for no money,
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, so how do you get through the pain? Is there some? I would think of one particular way personally that I would get through the pain.
Tell me first.
Well, my personal way would be thinking in terms of cost benefit. This is usually how I do things: cost benefit versus the product of what happens. So in this case, you feel pain for whatever 6 hours, and now having done, who cares if you do that? That's something that's temporary, right? And so the downside is you just feel pain or whatever. The upside is you've now won the bet and you've done this crazy ass thing and have this unique experience, which is forever, and has all kinds of potential benefits. Whereas, who cares if you're in pain? And you grow a little bit too, so there's that too. That would be the thing because I can't unthink that. I can't get around that particular thing. But actually, this is a question for you too, because if I can't justify the pain, or if I'm in the gym, it's hard for me to justify pushing myself a little harder, because my personal mind will be like, well, why should I? But maybe you have a way of beating that, because I know you're pretty good at when fights, I can understand it because you're trying to win the fight. But maybe you have a different way of feeling things.
It's a very interesting one you have there, and I think we have some similarities in a way of thinking too. For example, in this case of the ultra endurance events, I start to feel pain at around 10 hours there. At 12 hours was pretty uncomfortable, but was still okay. And I think around 18 hours was where the fatigue, sleeping deprivation, you start to feel everything, why am I doing that?
Really?
Start to get weak. And the pain is real, you cramping, you panic a little bit because you cramping at 18 hours and you have another 6 hours to go. And in my case there, that was a very stupid bet that I cannot dismount the bike.
Right.
So
shit.
So if I really cramp so badly that I needed to dismount the bike to stretch myself and go again, I have lost that. I could cheat. I could not say to the guy, no, I didn't. But lifetime, I would know I did,
Yeah.
So, so was not, of course, on the GPS data of the bike, everybody would know because you see the failure there. Oh, the guy stuck here for a while. So here shows that he stopped. If you analyze one by one by the minute, you would know that I was not there. But I think we could even manage on that if I was I want to cheat because I want to win. But my case is I want to win that bet. That was my thing. I want to prove to myself that I can do because I thought I could. That's the first thing. If I don't do, that would hurt as hell. That would be painful.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm deep into that and I already did 18, 19, 20 hours, I already had so much pain and I quit, then I will need to lead with the pain of quitting, with the pain every time when somebody asks me, how was it? Or when my son's asking me, hey, daddy, how was it? How was that? And I think those things I should to say to them that I hurt too much and I surrender just for the pain. Because officially I have no injury, I have nothing that was discomfort on the neck, on the ass, on the arms, on the shoulders, the knee was start to everything, the shoe, the socks on the feet but was not killing me, So it was just like leading another 5 minutes, and I start to come to, for a while that I was looking a little bit in front, say, okay, Lincon, now you're going to pedal until that tree, and then that tree there in front you commemorate, and I start those inner talk, chill and smile when I arrive there in the tree, a little punch in the air. And of course, that's sometimes you can get into a tunnel where the time just, the flow status, the time just go, you do not notice it. But then does the pain and does the negative feelings come in waves? But we can control, we don't need to surrender when they are there. We don't need to surrender for this first signal of pain. If that pain is not because a injury, right? If it has an accident, if I crash, if forever, anything that, of course, in that case, I would stop. Not an MMA fight, which is different. But there, yeah. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think, let me make it very short here again. I think the pain you will have anyway. Which pain you want to have? The one of the regret and leading with the failure, or the pain of the effort?
We have to think about the upside too. I mean, the pain and pleasure are related, whatever view pleasure as.
You are saying that, not me.
Well, yeah, I mean, like once it's over, now you can be like, yeah, I did do that, like that kind of thing.
Right.
So I think it has that sort of upside. Yeah, I mean, one thing you tell me a lot is make friends with the pain. So that is a bit challenging. I've had a fantasy actually to transcend pain. I don't know how that's possible. In a safe way, I should say, because there's also ways that are painful that are not very useful. Right, so you don't want to lose an arm. That would not be very productive.
No, not at all. Not at all. I joke about that one here too, because I know it can go very stupid in that direction, but definitely not that far where putting risk your life or also your health on the long term. But it's interesting to flirt with that pain of effort, let's say like that, you know, and of an effort. Any professional athlete that are in any level of competition, or even amateur athletes that take really serious competition, know what pain. And I have a inner phrase that says, make friends with pain and you never will be alone, you know?
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, that one, when you performing, and what I'm talking here, that physiological pain of the effort, of the lactate being too high, of your heart rate being too, you know, or you're on a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match where the other one is 20, 30 kilos heavier than you and press you down and you cannot breathe, and the hand go out there, you want to tap, and you look there on the crowd has 2,000 people watching you. Fuck, I'm a black belt, man. What the fuck? I will not tap on the pressure, you know? I will not. But 99% of your body wants to tap, and you think this guy is also human. He will tire, you know? He's not having evolution on the position, so hold one more second. That whole ghosts every professional fighter, every professional athlete will have. But who can push that threshold a little longer will have advantage in that, no doubt.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fair point. I would just think that what would worry me would not be so much the pain. It would be, at least in that context, like if you can get seriously injured, that would worry me.
Yeah, no, that's totally different. You know, if you have an arm lock there, that is, your arm is ready to snap, you will not let snap your arm, because it will take 6 months to you to readjust that and can train it well again, you know. So then it's stupid. You just step out.
Fair enough. All
you
right,
know?
well, that's different.
All right, okay. But in another very stupid way here, if you get a rear neck choke, come on, that motherfucker will need to put me out. I will need to put me to sleep because I will not tap. You know, right, I know I will not die from that. I know it's not, but you know, you will fight there until you already have the feeling for that. You know,
speaking which.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some more stories of your fights. I didn't even know the one story. I just remember one you mentioned about like an 800 euro fight, and where you're like fighting for like everything on the line. It must have been one of your earlier days, right? Do you remember which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I remember the one you were talking. It's the one that I got my nose broke.
Oh, yeah.
Because the 800 euro, tell me exactly what is that about? Because I was so like pumped up to put my hands in that juicy money, you know. I was like, fucking man, 800 euros. And if I win, I will make 1,600. I was virtually counting that money in my hand, like 1,600. Can you imagine what the heck is that? You know? and believe me or not, I was making the calculation of that money, how much would be worth that money in Brazil, you know, like wow, I made it in life, mate, you know. So the guy was a Turkish striker from Germany, very, very good striker, much better striker than myself, but I knew too that I was a much better grappler than him. So I knew I would need to put the guy on the floor and tap out the fight. That would be my biggest chance, or with some lucky punch. But the guy was much better striker, taller than me too. He could manage well his fight. And I was like me and my brother pumping each up there on the locker room, talking about the strategy, what we would do. I say, look, if I'm bleeding or whatever, if I'm like into a bad situation, don't throw that fucking towel. No, you know, let me pass out, but don't throw that towel. It's not gonna happen. Dancing there, making my show, whatever, which we can talk about that another time too, or, you know, but I love it, making my dance there, making my show, pumping up, work with the confidence of the other guy at the ring. And we start the fight pretty early into the fight. This guy gave me a flying knee and my nose was bleeding. I got into the clinch. My nose was bleeding badly because I saw the blood running down here on my body. And we got into the clinch and this guy started to throw like semi punches, but much more like sliding through my face for his whole underarm during the clinch. I was trying to defend and whatever, and I realized that was not coming punches. I thought this guy is not as good striker as I thought, but he was making economy of energy. He wanted that the referee stop and then start again from far. He was gaining time and make economical, but he was trying to make me bleed more. Because as much more I bleed, maybe the doctor would stop the fight and he would have won that. And he was doing anything to the fight to not go to the ground. So I could, as I told, I'm shorter than him. I sleep underneath his axle. And I met with my brother at the corner of the ring, really here at the corner. My brother looked at me, Lincon, you look like shit, man. I'm gonna throw that towel. And it was just first round. I remember I make hits to them. And I blink, I said, man, I'm gonna win this fight, and and I said, I'm gonna win this fight, and if you throw that towel, you kill you later, okay? I send a kiss to him, and I hold, and I put the guy on the floor. I got almost on the mount control straight there. He was stronger. He also panicked, and he turned his back. I got into a rear neck choke, and it was easy. He did not use so much on the floor. He tapped out. I commemorate, play with the blood, being a tough guy there. And screaming, I'm rich. Like in Portuguese, that's only my brother could understand, Like, I'm fucking rich, I made it, like that. When I walk out to the locker room and I saw my nose. That was ridiculous. My nose was right here. It was like,
oh, really?
You can see I have a rest of it until today. There's nothing left there,
Holy fuck.
And there was Ivan, why you did not told me my nose was like that? Ivan is my brother, well, you say not stop, Just hugging him. I love you, brother. And, it was a fun beginning. But believe me, 800 euro, which I doubled up by the winning, was the biggest money I have seen in my life back to those years. I was like, wow, it's really possible, Yeah. The magic happened.
That's how I felt when I won my first tournament. There was some fucking magic going on. It was a lot less bloody. It was a lot more like fucking, or like it was bloody for the other guys in terms of poker standards. You can say, I guess.
Yeah. Which year was it?
2000 and fucking 2000 and I guess it must have been 2007. Something like that.
Yeah, I met you in 2008 and you was pretty famous already. You have some things behind your belt already,
No, it wasn't 2008 for sure. It must have been like 2013. 2008,
when I met you.
Yeah. 2008.
No way. No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember our common friend Johannes Strassman, of course?
Yeah, I met him.
Do you remember which year you was coaching him?
I think 2012 or 2013, one of those two. I think 2012. I met him in 2001.
No. Well, we have another discussion offset of that one, but he went with me to Thailand in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And I have met you in his house, I guess, not for the first time.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So this story, huh? What's that?
No, I just thinking about the difference of paying on poker or on MMA fight.
Well, that's the thing that I'm thinking to myself. It's not really that different because at some point I realized that as I was growing in stakes, no longer did I feel the pain of losing 100K or whatever at some point. I mean, I feel it very depending on where I was, or it could be as though it felt like nothing depending on my situation. And you could say, well, or even I could feel it and then respond like a machine at some level. Or I remember the biggest point of pain. There were two biggest points of pain actually that I felt, but the biggest was, or the biggest it should have been, was when I lost 200 bitcoins. That was really, don't forget that. Your treasure is zero. Please? 200 was stolen. But I'm pretty good with financial loss and things such as that. So I was I was definitely ready to kill somebody, but I was going to find out who. And I didn't find out. But I just felt like, well, there's not really any difference in a way. And this and pain and fighting. The other times would be heartbreak. One particular person was especially savage. That would be number 2, or actually probably number 1, to be fair. But whatever, who cares? It's just,
Yeah, but that's why when I'm talking here about the differences of pains, because as I say to you, doing those longer crazy workouts, those transcending pain during 24 or more hours or whatever for a ends of something that you want actually. You are putting yourself under that pain intentionally and with a purpose. When I say a man here, is a human, has seen a purpose in the pain, I think he can take a lot. But
really?
For example, no, I will not go that deep, but the pain without purpose, it's annoying,
Sure. That's what Viktor Frankl said, right? Pain, that the purpose was really what helped people get.
Right. For example, men searching for meaning. It's an word example of how much pain. And in that case, we are talking, they're not just physical, but the psychological pain too, a human can take when he finds the purpose on that. But the other ones that was in the same situation, that did not found the purpose, did not surrender to the situation, could not survive.
Right.
The emotional pain was just too much. Maybe the body's still taking, but the mind just surrender, and they say, okay, it's not worth living anymore, so when we talk about physical pain, I think it's quite limited, but the psychological pain has no limit. The psychological pain is something so underrated and underestimated, where people that perhaps never lead with depression or with hard breakups or a loss of a beloved one, cannot understand how deep, because that has no expiration date, has no limit how deep you can go back, If you break your arm, you know how much it will hurt, and that day after tomorrow has no pain anymore. You put a cast there, in a few days you're moving again, right?
Really? So you think breaking your arm is as bad as... Really?
No, I think physical pain is minimal comparison with how far psychological pain can go. And
really?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay,
no doubt.
That's good to know. I feel like definitely gone into some interesting wormholes into that. But I think it's not really that different. It's just a different version. So that got me thinking, well, what about getting past some physical pains for the sake of some purpose? Not just poker, because it wasn't really that different. It was just different between the stakes, and you just get over it. You can play for the highest stakes possible, and then it will feel like whatever. That's part of what got me fascinated into this realm of physical stuff. But you told me crazy stories where it sounds very scary. Like you also mentioned a story where you, embarrassment, by the way, is another form of pain. Social pain is something.
Oh, it's a big one. So, for example, when you lost a bet like this, that you have that social embarrassment that you should to say to everybody, hey, and you have a social gathering where you have some respect into your inner circle, and people come to you, hey, how was it? How was your bath? How did you do? I just quit because I was in so much pain. Oh, no problem. Next time, buddy. And you just feel like you want to disappear. You want to.
So yeah, for sure. I mean, like that's probably. I wonder how it compared to. Well, like you were mentioning things where like your fingers were bent in various ways, could be really freaky. And you mentioned something where like your jaw was dislocated and like fucked up. Like I think that would be scary, to be honest.
Yes, it sounds like a lot of different types and the different things. Seems that I was 24/7 that, but I have a very long career. And as I say to you, when you're competing much more into a fighting sport, you really need to make friends with the pain, because that bitch, that call it pain, will show her fucking face like in various different ways to you in times where you least expect. So this case, I was with the finger. I was sparring at my gym in Vienna, and that was on the week of my fight. It was a light sparring. But you know how is it? Things start to heat up, and we are sparring with the MMA gloves. And we're doing, for example, in the week of fight, we don't do 5 minutes anymore. We do sparrings of 3 minutes. We just do more rounds. And we pick up the intense, and we intend to finish strong every round. We intend to move around, to punch, to jab, to play around, as you would do in a 5 rounds, 5 minutes fight. You try to finish strong and put pressure as the time goes. And my brother was, as you will hear many times here, my brother was like really my right hand and the guy that really trusted me all the time in life. He's the one that when everybody was saying you are crazy, you will not succeed, he was opening the door of his house to me, totally financially broken, and marriage broke. My wife left me because I had no money, and I say to her, "Be a fighter," and but he was the only one saying, even my parents just come back home, get a normal job and whatever. No, I want to succeed. I want to, my brother took me inside his home and come here. I believe on your talent. You will do that, and can't forget that. The guy is just a 10 out of 10. It's like, if anything I ever got, this guy was the first one right there, And so anyways, in this case, before I get too sentimental here, we was training there in my ring in Vienna. And my brother here at the corner, I'm left-handed. And I was playing like it was really relaxed. And he stop. And I'm like, what happened? He make like this, with that face, and show my hand. And I look, my pinky was here. Outside, the gloves, the fingers are free, but the pinky was really hanging here. Would not move.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what the heck? My sparring partner was, I would not know right now, but Eastern European friend of mine, but I would not know exactly which country. But he say, I have some reps here, and I look to him like I want to punch him in the face. And yeah, that's okay. Bring it. So he got the rep. We put my finger together, and these two fingers we put here. And then we wrapped around, and those ones I could move, and this one helped to stabilize. And I put my finger here, and I finished my rounds and finished training. Was the week of fight. I could not say no in that week. So I used that. Of course, after that, I did not do sparring anymore, but in the day of the fight, I still have the wrap right there. I was fighting, and it was okay.
Were you fond of it?
Yeah, because, I'm a grappler, and my opponent would not know which injury I have too, and I would not say. So, yeah, that was fun. Oh, has one good one. You want to talk about that in Curitiba, Paraná?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Johannes was with me there in this trip.
Yeah.
And has a lot of old school fighters there with me that would remember that story too if they ever watch your podcast here too, and they will remember, I remember this crazy fucker, what he did. So I was training, his name was Marcelo Brito. He fought in Pride in Japan. He fought all around the world, extremely good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He turned to be a great MMA fighter and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter all around the world. He's slightly heavier than me, and me training with him. And I got a little confident. I dived into double leg. And in the same time, he went with the knee. And the knee strike here on me. And I was on his leg and like that, and I saw a lot of blood, and I like, this guy is bleeding, man. I got happy, The guy's much better than me, and he's bleeding. I was like with a silly smile. And a friend of mine on the side said, Lincon, you're bleeding bad. I did not want to let the light, I was like, no, I'm almost getting him, and he's getting out. And he told Lincon, calm down, you're bleeding, and he's like gentleman guy, and I look, I went, was bad bleeding. I went to the locker room, I cursing off anyway. It was like a pussy on my forehead. It was literally like, and I want to keep on training, and I'm there. If I go to hospital, those guys will start with so much bullshit. We start to, I got a needle, a normal tool that you use for the clothes, a little line. And I wash with some water there. I make the stitches on my forehead. That's why they are so bad until today. And I went back to the mats to train, Just, when I think nowadays, those types of things, what's the chance that a thing like that could be right, Where if a friend of mine or a client or one of my sons say, oh, look what I did bad, I would like, what? What do you think you are? What? But when you are in the middle of it and you embrace that, you don't even see that so abnormal. Even the other guys was there, the guy is just crazy, but well, let's keep on training. So it's, I was,
well, I mean, I guess in some situations it's warranted. I don't know. If you have to fight the next day, I guess I get it. I personally, definitely averse to injuring myself. But these stories make great stories.
They do at the end. You think, how now we understand why women live longer than men, huh?
Well, women are just as violent as men, it turns out, but in different ways. And not in like outright violent ways, but I guess
psychology.
Interesting. Yeah, or like socially violent sort of stuff. Well, what other stories do you have in your early days, especially at which point were you making like some real money from fighting? Because that does sound like quite a challenge.
It is. On the last years of my career in Austria mainly, and in Germany, I could make a little bit better money because I was popular in the country, and I would get a lot of sponsors also, which would be always supporting me my fights and my training camps. Also, I had my own gym there, so it started to work quite better, and I was doing more money from my private sponsors than the fighting fees itself. And but I think for all what I trained, for all what I did, the last 2 years into fighting was where I could get some money from that. Don't sound too much of a rewarding, but I know if I would have born 1,000 times in this planet, I would do 1,000 times again the same thing. I think that's called stubborn. I think so. In the English vocabulary, that's how you define stubborn. I did enjoy so much. I learned so much on the way. I met so many people where say we are what we are today as a product of our story. Even if we did a lot of bullshit, if a lot of wrong things that we would not do today because we got the wisdom based on what we did or what we saw around our environment, that makes what we are today, what I am and what you are. If all the bad moments in your life and the good moments or whatever, you would not be right here today being that very same guy, So it's me and anyone in the world. We are a product of it. and I'm proud to have done so many mistakes and to overcome them too, majority, I guess, without so much brain injuries. And nowadays, I'm very focused into longevity, treating sport much more as a holistic approach, working in my mobility, in my cardiovascular endurance, in my mental strength, in my, my strength, in my muscle stamina, in my
well, we should
power,
talk about that.
balance, everything for me, it's work together nowadays. I don't want to be a world champion in nothing anymore, but I want to be a well-rounded bad motherfucker until my last day on this earth. That's my goal.
Well, let's talk about that stuff shortly. So you should mention any more stories. I was thinking of the dislocated jaw one. The exciting stuff first. Like it's like all the healthy things and longevity and you should do this.
That one you're gonna let for the next chapter, and I say, okay, now let's show the normal side of the guy. I'm gonna get the bad rap if I start to talk about that. I was fighting Germany, and the guy did not speak the German language. We was both here, the referee on the middle, and we both head to head and just staring at each other here and really counting down to smash the face of each other. And the referee was saying the rules here, what you can or what you cannot do. And we both was just shaking hands, but me too, I was just shaking my head there and was ready to kill that guy. I don't give a damn what the guy was saying here. I knew the rules. At least I thought I knew. And he too, he thought he knew. So we started the fight, came out, he's a very good wrestler. We exchanged some strike, but he could put me down. I felt on my back, but he put him inside my guard. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when you have your legs around the body of the guy, even if you have your back on the floor, you have plenty of advantage there as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. So a lot of even my MMA fighters, I won from that position. And I'm pretty comfortable there with my back on the floor and controlling his arms, start to posture myself to get into a omoplata. And when I got into that position, I touched it here. He did not have what more to do. He dived with the head on my chin. He gave a couple of strikes of that. And what's hard, one of them really hit, and I felt it pinching on like in my ear, like and I was like, fuck, it hurt. And I just remember the referee saying, stop. For a split of a second, I thought he did knock me out. And I was there, and I have that, and the referee, you are disqualified. What are you doing? What is that? The guy jumped out and made that face, like, what's happening? What's going on here? Looking to his coach, talking his language. And the referee, you cannot do that. You cannot, I cannot do that. I looked at the referee, my chin like that. No, he did not knew that. It's okay. And we are not in a really big crowd, not in a really big, event in the world. Crowd shouting or whatever. I make it to the crowd too. Crowd, even from Germany, start to scream my name there. And I got punched there with the chin like this. The referee say to me, are you sure? I say, yes, I'm sure. So okay, go back, and we fight for the first time. Then we shake hands, at the beginning, he refused to shake my hand.
Who did?
And, yeah, because I was insulting him on the back door too. People don't know that, think he's the evil, but I was evil.
Really?
I was insulting a lot on the backyard, on the back doors there. And then at the crowd, I want to get the crowd to myself. I want to extend the hand, and he refused to extend the hand to me, but I knew, I make like this to him, and the whole crowd boo him, and what was my game plan? I deserved it, So, but anyways, the guy got me into that position again. I could get him into a triangle choke. So, and the referee was here, and he had his hand behind me, and he tapped out, and I had him into the choke. And the referee didn't move because the referee did not saw his hand here. And I would not let this guy go because if the referee don't see, he tap out. But I have that little evil on me too. I want to make this fucker pass out now, And until he passed out and I realized has no movement on the body. But I did not let. I said, referee, I think he's out. And the referee, stop. And the guy was there. So the other guy of his corner started to come to the ring and curse with the referee, and they start to go there and make a little bad boy dance over him, like that.
Well, now I understand the bad boy thing more. That was making really a lot of sense.
It was a showmanship. I really was. I didn't need that. Holy shit. We should put some highlights of those videos into the podcast, dude, so people would have a picture of what we are talking.
Sure, we can do that.
That's insane. What when I look back, seems that was in other light, man. That was incredible.
That's pretty crazy.
And I still have, I have 3 little plates of titanium.
Holy shit.
And a couple of screws on my chin, and still
I didn't realize you actually
had,
like, from that fight, you had it with you fought with a broken jaw.
Yeah, that was in 2008.
Oh, really?
2008, wow. Yeah, and it's incredible how, again, when we find a purpose on the pain, that we can keep on going and doing those things. Because if I have a broken jaw in the middle of my living room while I'm building up a table, of course I would not finish to make the table and cook the dinner to go to the hospital after, I would go immediately. Right. And I would be screaming from pain too, because it's so excruciating. But when you are there in the middle of it and you find that it's a purpose for get what you want, and that I was in that moment still thinking that to have those good results in the fight would give me a better career. So it was easy to tolerate, and I don't remember that it was so painful. I remember it was painful. I remember some type of pain. But I cannot describe that was like, wow, was a 10 out of 10. No, I cannot describe that.
Would you say, I remember you telling me that the sport has changed a bit. And like now it's not so like cutthroat. It's a little bit more regulated. It sounded like it's still pretty crazy, to be honest. I was hearing about kickboxing and all that, and like how you could get concussions and blah blah blah. I was like, how do I do this? How do I get in there and get a little feisty? But I'm wondering. One thing I wondered is it important to like have like that to really want to like kill your opponent all the time when you're fighting?
You gotta be a little bit driven to, as a child, to aggression and violence, to embrace fighting sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think has a lot of it. I'm talking now, I cannot talk to everybody in the world, but that was how it started for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I like fight. I like to brawl with other kids on the street there in Brazil. Everybody that know me, I cannot say I'm a saint right now because they would say, hey, Lincon, you're talking bullshit. I did like brawl. I brawl on the school. I have been giving trouble to my parents, and they was there every second week on the school saying, oh, you're a kid again, and on the streets, I was a little bit of a vigilante too, like always taking care of my friends or whatever, which, so training in a good fighting academy, getting a good coaching, tame that beast makes you much more aware of what you can do or how you can, on when you need to apply certain force or aggression or whatever, which nowadays in this modern world is very rare situation. If you're not a professional fighter, has no reason to, in majority of the places in the whole world, as we know, will not need to, But I still thinking that's much better to be a warrior into a garden than a gardener into a war.
Fair point.
You understand? You better be ready for the battle, but live in your garden. You better be ready to protect yourself and your belongings, your family, your whatever what you think it's under your protection. Be ready for that, but you feel comfortable that you do not need to, right? And I think that's also a lot of discipline, because a weak man that do not fight is not a discipline. Right? A broken man that do not spend the money on everywhere is not a discipline.
Sure.
Right? But if you're sure that you I can 99 in 100 beat everybody in this room or whatever, and you even being insulted, you decided to walk away, that's a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you are a multimillionaire and have the opportunity to show off with your money and whatever, and just spend recklessly because you can and will not make a difference, but you don't, that's a discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you cannot fight, you cannot defend yourself, but you also never fight in your life, I don't think that's a discipline, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's not.
The fighting sport gave me a lot of discipline. Teach me a lot about boundaries, about also give me a lot of my own ass that you always have somebody that will be there to give on your ass no matter how good you think you are. Oh yeah, a lot. And that's a humbling. That's humbling. Right. Well, that's part of the discipline. That's how you get discipline, That's how, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the benefits of, I guess it could be all sports teach that perhaps. I was thinking, one funny thing about the thing that people don't recognize about today's culture, as you're saying, is that it doesn't, what's the term? It doesn't empower toxic male masculinity very much outside of, unless like stage fights, but we'll have to see how the future unfolds. But compared to
what is that toxic male masculinity? Like that word confuses my ears. Always I hear that thing and I cannot understand. What is it?
Well, like toxic would be like causing lots of fights, right? It would be like there can be real reasons for fighting. Sometimes you have to, right? But it would be
but it, as I say, is rare.
Really
it's
angry.
Like almost. Yeah, it's. Nowadays, adult words of civilized people, I cannot see where would be a very rare exceptions that you say, the only way is to punch him in his face or whatever. It's rare. It's really rare.
For sure.
But if it happens, it's cool to be prepared. It's good to be prepared to defend yours and who is around with you. But NAD is a minimal effective dose.
Yeah. Usually it's not to do something crazy, almost always. But there are exceptions to that rule, and in the past, this was empowered in some way. For example, in a lot of cultures, it was like acceptable for like to challenge someone to a duel to the death, or like to fight someone to the death, like that kind of shit. There's a story of two people fighting to the death, decided to rent like a carousel around France or whatever, just like enter the carousel with the knives and just stab each other to death. This was like a thing that happened. But like, about the stories of the Colosseum and all that shit.
The human history is full of violence, and when people complain about how violent is our world nowadays, say, you are blind. How can be your opinion is so distorted? We are in the best time the humans ever haven't lived in human history. Do you really think that hunter and gatherers was peaceful there on the forest and everybody would be like just chanting around the trees, and when the apples fall they would eat and share with each other? Come on. Those guys would, if somebody has a full hand of nuts more than the other, they would eat them hand together with the nuts, and no, why exist military like countries with a military power everywhere? Just started because the men started to decide to farm was better than gathering. And the other ones that was not farming decided that just to go there and to invade the farms and get what did not belong to them was a better way of living. So the farmers started to understand that we needed to have some force to defend them property too. And that started the evolution, and then you get what we have today, atomic weapons, but one is consequence of the first one.
Yeah. I mean, long-term investment strategies eventually paid off, and now here we are. Although the conflict's not exactly resolved. A few fun statistics to throw out about the past. You were certainly right about that. I thought I'd take the conversation here for a little bit. So first of all, in the ages of the chieftains basically had like 80% of the power, but they couldn't push it back like this final 20%. They get like 80% of the women and all of that. And they didn't rule through basically military might being the strongest of the tribe. A fun fact of history is that something like compared to the women that got to reproduce through history, I want to double check this because it is absurd. Something like 1 in 17 men got to pass on their genes through history. Something like wildly lopsided in favor. What probably happened to the other man was not particularly great. If you read into history, which I know you have, reading into, obviously the cult, there's plenty of, I personally write quite a bit into history. I don't know how much stuff you're familiar with, but especially like Chinese history is filled with all sorts of horrible, horrible things that happen that most people won't even have imagined exist, like the Taiping Rebellion.
The whole human history is full of that. The Bible is full of that. The religion history is full of that, genocides and all those wars that I think I'm better than you, therefore I should to teach you what is better. I think I'm representing God on earth, so I should to teach you how God wants, therefore I'm better than you, and if you don't do as me, you're gonna burn in hell, or I will need to use force to bring you to heaven or to bring you to my faith because my faith is better than yours. So how many wars, how many genocides in history was started from that direction,
For sure. There's quite a few, by the way. A lot of the conflicts have. I will say, by the way, though, that is a massive trap to force someone to do anything. Actually, freedom is, in my opinion, one of the most important virtues if you really think about things deeply. And to sabotage that is actually a big, bad thing. One of the worst things that can be done. And regarding that, though, I want to mention that atheism is also responsible for really fucked up shit. I know that the communism on the whole was a byproduct of the atheism, which actually, it ironically took on a religious fervor. And so, like, you can say like that alone, that caused a shitload of deaths, unfortunately, indirectly. There's the Taiping Rebellion might be, but I'm not sure. And but even going beyond that, one thing that is meant to say is that it is really important to say is that moral what's the word? Moral justification is responsible for the worst acts of evil, as it turns out. But it can go both ways, right? There's also like incredible acts of goodness. It can be responsible for either terrible acts or very, very good acts, right? If done right. It's hard to blame like Christ and
where is the bottom line? Where is the division that turn you into somebody that has a good will and show your truth, or into a tyrant?
Well,
where is the line that divide that? Where can you start in your own house? Start right there. When you have a different view of a certain thing with your wife, with your girlfriend, or whatever, when you have a different opinion in a certain matters that you know for sure is better for her, and you want to teach her that you improve her life through that, who are you entitled to say that? Why are you saying that you're better than her, therefore you should to correct her? And if she don't do, she's the mean idiot girl that does not deserve your respect or is challenging your power. So if that situation happened where you know for sure, but the other one does not have the same opinion of you, what would you do? Impose your righteous or impose your truth? Or you would just let the person leave her or leave him, leave his truth, figure out by themselves, and live in peace with that, If you say, no, I will choose the former because I know that she will suffer, that will be bad for her life in that way. What would you do if you are a leader of a country? What would you do if you are a leader of a religion? You will apply that same power, the same who you are right now. You are a tyrant, not you're doing that in a small scale because you have little power. You have power just on your household. But if you are a chieftain, you will apply your power the same way as you apply your household to the whole village. If you are a mayor, you apply the same power to that. If you are a leader religious, you will do the same. If you are it's just in scale. And out of a sudden, we are talking about many wars where the people think, look, Hitler, when he started, if you really read about and see that his idea, he thought he was saving the world at the very beginning, where he wanted a better human race, and he understood that was better and he should to teach and to save the humanity, transforming a better human beings, but then get corrupted by that power, get the feeling, the taste of the blood, and get completely out of hand, where another genocide happened because someone thought that he's no better than the other one around, and many of the other war was like that. How many Brazilian native Indians die, I would not know by head right now, but multi-millions when the Catholics went there, the Portuguese and the Spanish Catholics, and show the cross and say, this is your God right now to the Indians. And if they did not bow or surrender to that God, they would kill them because they was atheist, because they worship wrong gods, they worship the sun, they worship the water, they worship a tree, they worship the moon, which to them make a lot of sense that they are much more gods than the cross that was showing, and millions of them dying in the name of salvation. They was like, no, we are saving them because without our help, they're going to burn in hell, When we act like that, what do you think we are? That we are entitled by God? That we are better than the other? Who give that entitlement to say that your truth is the truth, So...
well, I believe that you're correct in that precisely the more that something is forced, the more that someone's individual is forced for the expense of someone else. This is basically the product of evil. The more of you is forced, or more of anything's forced, for some kind of gain theoretically, the more it's the more evil is essentially created, the more separation, you can even say. That was a conclusion I came to slowly. So you can't really force anything. You kind of have to just wait for people to come around whenever they're going to come around, But I do agree with you. It's basically the same thing at the scale. So that's how you behave at a low level is all the little actions that matter, and that the ones at the bigger level will be even harder to control. So it actually makes sense to look within first before trying to get power and stuff like that. I mean, I think it's true even of like money leaks and like other kinds of leaks. I personally view it as all the same. Like, why would it be easier to manage these things at a higher level than it is to manage them at a low level? It's actually like brought it right to something I've been thinking about for a while.
I think it's really cool that we go to those directions and drift on that philosophical side too. That I always, in our private conversations, like to discuss those newfounds of you on religion and history too, which you are doing amazingly. And I learn a lot from that conversations too, bringing me to thinking, bringing me to research. Sometimes you come with some questions that I say, I should improve my game here, gonna be better, well prepared when we meet with him again. So it's been cool to have this type of sparring with you in that direction. I love it.
I love it. Spars. Well,
but it's been very positive, helping a lot. Get out of the conversation, know that, a new thought here, a new breakthrough. And sometimes even, I think one day we was just walking out of the gym and that was a eureka moment, when we was talking about a religion in that day, that we start to talk about, I don't know if you remember, but we was here in London, we start to talk about where is the bottom line, that where you are a tyrant and where you are a good spiritual leader or any political leader. Where do you want really the best to your environment, to your community, or to your country, or where you want just to impose your will because you think you are better, because you think you are,
I think you nailed it. Really, is exactly what you said. Do you want the best, or do you want their best feelings? If you start imposing views on them, like, if you do this, it'll be good for you, and they're feeling like shit about it, and it seems like it's not working. I think it really it boils down to compassion, because if we be compassionate for people's worldview too, and if your worldview is forced, it changes things. You can look at the actions of other people. Basically, the ends, in my opinion, the ends do not justify the means.
Not at all. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. And just one little thing to maybe to just close that part here, so philosophical that we got. I hear lifetime people saying that power corrupts.
Not necessarily. It's just, I think it just... do you want to say something?
Because in my view, and for what I understood until today, power does not corrupt. Power reveals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you give power to somebody and you will know who he really is, or she.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think, to be honest, technology, social media, all these things just reveal, or will reveal, a bit of both, some darknesses, etc., on a large scale. It's kind of the same thing in poker. The analogy for all the poker people is, if your strategy fucking sucks, or you're bad at bankroll management, and you get a lot of money, why the fuck would that save you? It doesn't. It'll make you, blow it harder.
Right.
That's my personal view on it. As far as the...
very good one, actually, by the way.
Thank you. As far as I wanted to mention this book, The 100 Deadliest Catastrophes or Disasters in History by Matthew White. I thought this book was very interesting. There's quite crazy stories in there. I'll mention a couple. But it's, from religion, I still think that it's either can be very good or very bad. There's lots of positives that come out of this, actually. It's hard to think that, there's nothing in the Bible about killing. Well, maybe the Old Testament's kind of hard to explain, to be fair. But the New Testament, in my opinion, is pretty peaceful. It's mostly people dying.
If you squeeze around, you see some drop of blood. I haven't seen quite there,
In the New Testament, I'm not so sure.
The body count of the Bible is pretty high, actually.
In the Old Testament. I don't know. That stuff's a bit harder to make sense of. I personally think of it more as like, I think of these things more as guidelines. That religion's a bit harder to make sense of, in my opinion, but I will say that there have been some incredibly positive people that have come from it. Such as, if you look at the fall of the Roman Empire, a big part of it was precisely because first of all, the whole situation with the Colosseums, etc. There's like a couple, they at some point throw the Christians in there, but all the other religions did not catch on, but Christianity did, specifically because people would willingly go to their deaths. There's like the story of this young little girl who was like not even resist anything, and there'd be an executioner who's like refused to kill her, but she's like pressing the axe against her throat and that sort of thing. Like various miracles happened, and this is like would eventually turn even the pagans against the Roman Empire, and it's somehow basically that's pretty much why Christianity flourished, because of all these like accounts of various miracles happening. From it going from like some unknown cult to fucking famous shit. It's a big factor in the Roman Empire. But one was another guy.
Do you just a little? No, it's a big question. Do you really believe that those miracles did happen, or when you apply one technology that the other people do not understand, it looks like a miracle anyway?
In this case, let's put it like this. So, as far as miracles are concerned, there is actually evidence of quote-unquote miracles of sorts. For one thing, I would consider it a miracle that whatever the fuck that Christ did, that somehow these people devoted their lives to following him in the first place. That to me is effectively a miracle. Like that's a miracle. I don't know about this other stuff that happened or all these like supposed things, but I will say that I'm interested in the extremes of both directions, like the savage things that seem unbelievable, but also the really positive things. And I will say that I read story after fucking story after fucking story about this stuff, and I think they're really all bullshit. But another thing is that you can always, I was telling someone else this before, is there's always a logical explanation, meaning the miracle's not in the logic of what happened, it's in the feeling of what happened, if you understand. Like you can always say some kind of logic to it, but it's in the emotions of things that happen. That's where it's at. That's where all the magic is. It's because otherwise there's no meaning to any objective reality without the emotions being, meaning something without the emotions being at play, right? Music doesn't mean anything unless it makes you feel something. It's the same idea. That's my understanding of it. So, the miracles, what's a miracle? Like, is it, like you could say when you were fighting that guy and your jaw was broken and then you fought back and beat that guy, like that, like sort of like a small miracle in a way, right? But you could say, I knew I could beat him, and like he wasn't that great of a fighter, blah blah blah. But that takes like the whole like, you're a broken jaw and still fucking beat his ass away out of it.
But would you think my God was stronger than his God, and my God want more me to win than his God? Because we watch from different religions here. Different background religions, at least, because I wouldn't say that I have real religion nowadays.
So my understanding of that is these things are taken a bit out of context, the quote unquote gods you mentioned would be representative of certain kinds of like ways, the kinds of virtues that were honored, if that makes sense. Like you might represent the god of being really tough for whatever the fuck it is. Like that's a what do you call that? That's like a virtue, to be tough. And he might be the guy. He might have represented the god of being tall and having lots of innate talent. Well, obviously we know
Adonis is the god of the beauty.
Yeah. Sure. Well, there you go. I mean, this is the idea behind all these things.
I see.
So that's my understanding. And so you can say, okay, well, from this we can see that the god of being toughness, being tough is better than the god of, I think there's another term for it, but the virtue of being tough or whatever the energy behind that is better than the virtue of like being like the fucking giant with no skills by itself without that virtue. You see what I'm saying? I think that's my understanding if you want to like throw in some spirituality into it. I didn't expect this conversation to go here, but
no, it came, but I like that it came, and it's a subject that we have also spoken privately a couple of times, so I'm not really surprised that we went that one. Yeah, it's cool to have that one for sure.
Sure, I was actually thinking we should talk about like the crazy ass things in history, the crazy ass stories. So one or some of like the savageness of history and how in fact there's an aspect of humanity that's very violent. Just, you'd have to look at the Liu Anshan rebellion, the Taiping rebellion, all the slave wars, and during the Roman Empire and all their conquests. And
if we
Carthage
think about all of those types of different ways of expressing violence and brutality by the humankind. Mm-hmm. Again, I will say one more time, we are in the best time ever. We are the most holy and little angels comparison with our grandparents, those people a couple of generations ago, man, those people were evil, as you said there, not too long ago, you would feel challenged because the guy flirted with your girlfriend. They would go there and shot him in his face and would walk out, say, he was looking to my girlfriend, and the other people, oh, you are tough, and that would not even go back to 100 years ago in some cultures, which is 200 years for nothing when we look back, into the human history. 200 years is really nothing, and look how much it changed. So I really think that we are going in a much better direction when you look back, which was how violent was fighting events until not too long ago. If you go back to the gladiators, they was fighting with lions, fighting with crocodiles, with 20 men against one, and men with just one arm holding the sword with the other one, and that was entertainment of the crowd. They give that entertainment to the crowd so the crowd would calm down. They was watching this amount of violences. We go nowadays to watch Circus du Soleil. Was the same type of, you bring your kids, you bring everybody there, you have a fun weekend, and on Monday, everybody talk about the amazing show that you have seen. Forget the problems, forget that the country is starving or having, keep on going. So, when we look at nowadays how fightings are going back to our history here, in 1996, I started to fight with the bare knuckles and no limit of time and very no rules. When I fought in Europe, then I was inside the ring for the first time, and the referee said no soccer kicks. Soccer kicks was to watch that moments of, it was called free fight, or in Japan has a big event that was called the Pride. Many friends did fought there, and was the rules we was trained there in Brazil. So when your opponent is down, the best thing is to soccer kick. Soccer kick is just to use his head as a ball. That was my weapon. And I love to train that on the gym. Of course, it not have so many partners that want to be trained with me on that. Well, I use it to train on a boxing bag on the floor. So I would push the bag on the floor and train with a full blown hundreds of soccer kicks a day. And the guy said, no soccer kicks. I looked to my brother in the corner, what's that? How can I fight with no soccer kicks? I want to withdraw, I want to walk out. I'm training for that all the time, no soccer kicks, just imagine how brutal it is and how so little time compressed. It's not even 20 years ago, and it changed so much, and then we wonder why we did not have a sponsor and why the events had just like a couple of hundred people watching. Of course, it makes just no sense, but the things should be starting somewhere to create and to come some really good capitalist mind and see that as a business, to use a bit of that human violence that's embedded on our DNA and to capitalize on that, but transform into a sport. Back to there was not a sport, it was a competition between tough fuckers, but was not a sport, definitely not. And then nowadays we can say that UFC is a sport, that kids are going to train MMA at the gym and the parents are okay with that, Mm-hmm. If back to those years you say I want to do MMA, you were an outcast. Like, what? Heck, yeah. So it's much different. It's
I had no idea.
Techniques improve so much. The longevity of the athletes into the sport improves so much better. I just look back at the fighters that are in my age. Maybe I am too, I don't know. But those guys are a big majority of them. They're missing some part of the brain already. After so many concussions after concussions, and we did not even knew what concussion is. And you would go and train again. You get a knockout. Nowadays, we stay months out.
Really?
Yeah, and you cannot go back. You should recover from that. You should to check how is the brain, how is the head going, and you get a knockout. You stand up. You okay? Yes, okay. Then go and fight again. That was, yeah. I stopped fight quite early too because so many injuries. I have 17 operations in my body. Not surprised, the way I was doing. And so again, I would do everything again if I born 1,000 times. If I have a little bit more knowledge, if I have an environment that offer a better knowledge, I would do accordingly too. But definitely I would come to this earth and be a fighter again. And I love it. And a lot of what I teach is based on that too. What I coach is based on what not to do. How not to treat your body, how not to beat up yourself like that, how to get into a healthy body, healthy mind, peace of mind, all of a lot that I learn along the way, but a lot what I say, this is not the way, so
let's talk about some of that stuff, right? So, I want to talk about what you're doing to maximize longevity, how to best become in the best shape possible, like this kind of stuff, the stuff that you're training me and other high stakes poker players and like sports bettors, and I think that would be, tell us some things that are going to help the audience. By the way, I learned something recently. Let's see if you agree with this, is that if you work out 2 times a week, if you're just starting, of course, it's not, for like 20 minutes, apparently, when you're just starting, see if you can confirm this or not, because it would be nice to know like some metrics on this. I know some, but it seems like this is enough for a beginner. Just 2 times, 20 minutes a week, and you make like big gains, basically. What are your thoughts on that? And what else are we going to do for longevity?
Right. Let me start for the beginners here first. That will be easier.
Okay.
So if you don't do no one type of physical sport, you are really a lazy fuck, that you are a couch potato, that you never get out of your room to get some sunlight, some exposure of a natural vitamin D exposure there. You eat just junky. That I'm talking about the worst case scenario, right?
Okay, well, the poker players aren't the most athletic bunch, but...
All right, but I have some poker players that are extremely fit, yeah? Some poker players are like amazingly fit, and much more this generation of that are Since the online poker that has more camera and TV shows, and they start also looking bad, looking good, but a lot of those guys has an amazing discipline. Those guys you don't turn to be a poker world star without the discipline. And when you can canalize that discipline into taking care of yourself too, man, those guys can go far. Have mad respect for many of them here. I think I will not even start to talk, because if I forget to mention some name, it would look bad. It looks like that I favor one or other, but has an immense amount of players that are extremely fit, not just physically, but mentally. But again, if you are that worst lazy fuck that we was talking here about, and you decide that to go out every day to walk 10 minutes, is a life-changing already.
Really?
You know, for those guys.
What about two weightlifting sessions for 20 minutes?
If you have 20 minutes twice a week of workout, I would say you are working out more than 95% of the world population in your age group.
No, stop it.
Twice a week, 20 minutes at lifting weight. I don't know the statistics myself, but I would place a bet with you on that one. You know? I'm talking about worldwide. Not like if you go to California and get that population. Not that if you come here to Central London and take that population. No, worldwide. Yeah? But
I think you're thinking of first world, dude. I think you're thinking of most America.
20 minutes a day of lifting weights. It's already a great regime to take you from zero to a good amount of fitness. But again, now we are not beginners anymore, and we are talking about longevity. Let's talk a little bit here how I start with that, because I fuck up myself completely as a fighter. As I told you, I got 17 operations in my body,
fuck, dude,
broken everywhere, and I needed to sometimes have a help with my other hand to bring the cup to because the arm did not have strength because of the neck hernias was giving such a literally that was a lot of pain, because this pain I did not so purpose on that, did not so meaning on that, and it was also psychological because I never knew when it would stop. I think when I got in that really bottom of it, I had some terrible thoughts that I would end up quitting my life because it was not worth anymore, because it not so end in it. Of course, it was not 24 hours thinking on that, but I had some thoughts, some moments of pain that you are a couple of nights back to back without sleep because of the pain, because the lack of movement or whatever, and you think that's the end of the line, I don't have nothing more to do here.
That reminds me of a story I read about. Huh?
With the sleeping deprivation, you are just not able to take correct decisions, You are not emotionally stable anymore, and have this type of pain that you don't see meaning. You don't want to tolerate that pain anymore. But in other parts of the day that you wake up and you say, hey, I will try to beat it, because the doctors or science decides that it's easier to fly to Mars than to heal a neck hernia, I took the lead on my own hands, and I say I will heal myself through movement. I kept on with my studies on science of sports, and I went pretty much on recovery. And I took that same discipline that I was applying on the fighting, on my sports, on my fighting career, to recover myself, to put my body into a healthy status once again. So day after day, absorbing, interacting, networking with people that knew much more than me, people that I respect the opinion, much more people that overcome similar or worse types of injuries. And I started to be quite well versed into that. I did enjoy the progress that my body was taking. Did enjoy to see that day after day I was having less pain and being more flexible, more mobile. And in that time, I understood that thickness, healthy, and fitness is one line continuous. That's a line. So any body part, even talking about your brain, your anything what you want, or if you are broke or anything, you can apply that. Is a continuous line. At the bottom, you are sick. At the 50%, you are healthy. And that as far as you knew to 100%, you're fit and super fit. So, or you cannot be fit if you're first not healthy. How I developed this concept, I put a lot of things that I want to measure, that anything that was measurable in my life, I put to measure it, And I'm not talking about dick size here right now. I'm talking really about the physiology, about the about the range of motion, about anything what I could apply with my body. If you want some example, I would say, how long can I stay on that hang? How far can I go with the split? With how often I can do this drill? How many pull-ups I can do? How much I can bend? All of those things I was putting into metrics before having the pain. How far can I move my neck? How having 3 neck hernias, that could be a miracle nowadays, as we are talking, that I can do that, And so I put my neck is a 0 out of 10. My goal is to get on 5, because 5 is what the medicine says healthy. After I get healthy, then I want to get a stronger neck. I want to get fit. I'm going to be able to wrestle again. I'm going to be able to make some Muay Thai where people clinch on my neck and they have no pain on the next day, or I can have a normal life after a boxing training. That was then the next goals, but it took years to get until there. And then until today, things that I apply to myself, I apply to the people that are around me and working together, where we make a measurement of a lot of those physiological metrics, where we say, how much is your strength? How much we can qualify your strength? You are, let's put here that a strength athlete is a 10 out of 10. A power lifter is a 10 out of 10, let's say. So that's not our goal to be a 10 out of 10, because we are not a professional world-class power lifters. But my strength sucks. I'm a 3 out of 10, let's say. I want to get a 7 out of 10. Of course, you are unhealthy. A 3 out of 10, it's unhealthy. You want to get healthy, which is the 50 percentile. You want to get 5 out of 10. After that, you want to get fit. So you want to go to 7 to 8 out of 10. But that we work together parallel a lot. How is your mobility? I'm very strong. I'm an 8 out of 10. I'm strong like a bull, but my mobility sucks. So then your mobility is sick. Your mobility is like, let's say, it's just a 2 out of 10, because you cannot even keep on sitting with crossed leg, because you would have a cramp, or your leg will not even come to here. You sit really like that, and have back pain and feel uncomfortable, and then the legs are like that. And so when we make those analyzations, it's pretty easy to where we make that with discipline. It's easy to see the continuous line, but if you cannot accept that you are a 2 out of 10, a 1 out of 10 in a certain skill, which is necessary for a healthy human being, and you do not accept that, but you want to be a 10 out of 10 already, that's where the problem is. There were a lot of injuries during the training, or there were, for example, what is called between the boys, mainly the ego lifts will happen, because if you have a little bit of a strength, your muscle on your chest, you measure your bench press just based on the maximum strength of your chest, but you never consider that your shoulders are not as healthy or not as strong, that your elbow cannot tolerate so much weight. Sometimes your wrist cannot tolerate, and you get a stupid wrist injury or elbow injury or shoulder. How did you do that? Benching. So bench is unhealthy for you. No, bench is not unhealthy for you. Your ego and your lack of information is unhealthy for you. Right? So anytime where you go to the fitness, when you're thinking about longevity, to the fitness room or any type of training, You want to measure that training based on the weakest part of your body that's being engaged to perform that type of activity, right? Let's put in terms here that anybody would understand. If we go to spar, let's do some Thai boxing sparring here. I probably can kick a little harder than you because I have a better technique. But believe me, I will kick you back as hard as you kick on me. Not just because you're a beginner, I will not kick you. And if you are training, you learn, you kick, I will kick you the same. But you feel confident and you like how hard you can kick. So you kick me hard and I kick back with the same. And out of that, we have a bad injury there. Because why? Because you measure the training on what you can do best, but not on the weakest part of your body, right? And again, what got you hurt there was your ego. Of course, I make a fight analogy here because it's much easier to understand. But in every type of sport, physical activity, financial thing, that would apply. You know, when you make an ego move is where you're going to get hurt. I don't know exactly who said that phrase, but it's really well done. What hurt you is not what you don't know, is what you really know, but it really ain't like that. You know, that's the one that we really hurt.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that was a hell of a story. I didn't know that's how it started.
The neck hernia, it's literally what took me out of the fight. Took me out of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mats for many years. Even that I loved that with all my heart and soul. I could not train, you know. I would train a little bit and somebody would touch my head and there would be 3-4 days like that with the whole arm numb and everything. And I was literally killing myself and did refuse to quit. That's the point where also you should understand and come back and say, hey, this pain is not worth to take, you know. Now we stop to talk like that was fun, does crazy stuff forever, but this type of pain is hurting you for the long term. And you want to improve your quality of life, so it's time to quit right now. So I even quit the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the fight or whatever, for many years until I heal my body. And nowadays I'm near of my 50 years old and I'm training my fighting sport 5-6 times a week, you know, and not a single signal of that type of pain, not of the herniations or of those injuries that I had from the crazy fighting scene. And enjoying life in a much better way, being able to do a lot of different sports, as I say to you now, without ego, where I can do, for example, tomorrow, Monday, early morning, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then I go to the gym and do some weights. If my schedule allow, in the afternoon, I'm going to climb. We'll do a little bit of indoor bouldering, you know. In the evening, I'm here with my girlfriend, I go to the gym, do a little bit of rower, and I'm not going to be a world-class athlete in none of those, but I enjoy to be a well-rounded guy and be able to express myself, to move my body in any way I want, you know. It's winter arriving, we go to snowboard, we go to ski. We have no problems with that. We go climb the ice mountains. We have no problem with that. Why? Because we are fit in every body and the psychological part that matters for that, you know, which when we see a professional athlete, sometimes it's not that easy as we think and that person not as fit as we think. Because many professional athletes would sacrifice any other aspect of their lives to be the best one in that very specific sport, which can be horrible actually overall.
Well, that's a sober thought process.
Yeah, I'm talking to you here as an ex-athlete, you know, not pointing fingering anybody, but we know that the professional athlete career is very demanding and it's not increasing lifespan of nobody, you know, if you are so specific in one single thing, in one single aspect of life. Yeah. But when we talk about longevity, where we're going to respect everything that you want to check your blood values twice a year at least. You want to be keeping a very high VO2 max, is one of the biggest predictor of longevity. You want to check
VO2 max.
VO2 max
what was that?
Is your cardiovascular capacity, is how much oxygen you can inhale and make utilization overall. You can calculate it by minutes, by liters by minute, and get the raw number of a VO2 max. Yeah,
maybe
or you can get, for example, as high as your VO2 max, more oxygen you can utilize to perform a certain physical activity. When your VO2 max drop too low, even having a chat turn to be a max effort. So if your VO2 max dropped, for example, after 10% every decade, we can even calculate when you will die with a heart failure, because your heart just to give some steps to the kitchen, or if you should to go a few stairs up, is a maximum effort where you're not able to. So as higher as you get your VO2 max, more abilities you have to do things lifetime. Do you like to go walk? You like to go hiking? You should understand that to walk at 3 miles an hour pace, which is nothing for somebody like in our age or fit as we are right now, it's nothing. But if you see the end of life, when I'm 80, I want to do that with my future wife and with my grandsons, or whatever. You got to understand that you're going to be losing. So now you should to be on the top of your age group to be able to do that again, I don't think about to be a world-class athlete, but I already think myself of being a elite overall athlete in my age group in every aspect. I want to be elite on my VO2 max. I want to be elite on my grip strength, my flexibility, my mobility, my power, my speed. All of those things I want to perform on the top of my age group, so I know that I will age well. I know for example, let's say if you want to play around with your grandsons when you are 70 and you never deadlift on your life, you never shoulder press on your life, you never do a thruster, you pick your grandson on the floor and you oh my back, or you drop the kid, or you want to know what? If you get that pain and you never deadlift, you probably will not die from that, but you will die with that pain. That pain will be there the rest of the days of your life almost, So it's better to be prepared for those things and do accordingly to your age group. We are, as I say for the third time in this interview here, in the best times that humankind have lived. So let's live longer.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm here for it. Speaking of which, how can other poker players, say, they're in the mid ages or whatever, and they're 20s or whatever, what can they do? What do you suggest they do for their health that you think that they'd be willing to do? Let's put it like that, because a lot of these guys, especially when they're like sitting at the table and all that stuff, we've got we made our stretches, which by the way I've been doing for the most part for the table. What do you think these guys can do to live longer and be healthier?
Wake up half an hour early and get a little bit of cardio going, get a little bit of weights. You don't need to do everything all the time. Avoid screening before bed, because that last minutes of screening could be the meaning that you have another 20 minutes to sleep, and you will be fresh half an hour before, so you can hit the gym even before your breakfast. If you don't have the time to do all the things, wake up. Those young guys, wake up, do a couple of push-ups, squats on your bed. Don't leave your bedroom until you finish that set of maybe take you 5 minutes a day. If you're not doing enough, man, it's amazing. Every hour on the poker, stand up a little bit, do a little bit of stretch on your quads, on your calves, on your back, the opposite direction than to be like hunched here, holding your cards here and wherever. Stretch that neck, avoid that pain, That hanging is one thing that would change life of many people without too much effort. People that work on sitting all the time to get that spine alignment again. So that hanging, stay there for a minute or two, or for how long is it possible to you. If you cannot have access to the bar, just around your door frame, and just relax and stretch that spine, let that chest forward, get that natural alignment. Extremely important, so simple, costs you zero. If you say I have no time, get a little of stretching under the shower. Come on, how you have no time? It's better than nothing.
Or the poker table. I challenge these guys at no time, but it'd be interesting to take a look. Because maybe I'm the one all the time. I don't know, but I'm busy all the time personally. So,
all right. Look, I know you're like really much of your schedule, and I know how busy you are all the time, and you find the time to train. You take time too because it's important to you, and you are conscious that it will bring you rewards lifetime.
Yeah.
You are one of those guys that has all the excuses and the wild cards in the world to say I have no time to work out.
Well, yeah, sometimes I really don't have time. But it looks by the way that there were quite some diminishing returns after the fifth or so workouts, but maybe it depends a lot on the muscle and stuff. I mean, I don't really know myself. That's what I've noticed. But I personally made it a priority to work out every single time I went somewhere, and I would I do a few different things to balance all that. But that's one thing for me. But it started kind of as a slow process where I would just decide, okay, I'm going to work out. And then just kept getting to the point where it was weird if I didn't do it.
Right. After you get into that routine, it's humans are animals of habits. So if we develop a bad habit, it's difficult to get out of it. But if we develop a good habit, we also don't want to break it, and it's on our nature. So maybe go to the gym is a hard thing, but if you keep consistent on that, I don't think it will take even 3 months that you're going to get into your habit. And the day you don't go, you're going to miss that you did not go, and maybe discussing that pain of that case on your legs the first time you do the squats on the 24 hours after, 48 hours after. But after a while doing that, you miss that pain when you don't have,
Right.
That's missing some little thing there in you. Or
it takes a minute to get to that. But I think these guys, the poker guys, will, I feel like for them, it's something simple, just like you mentioned, the stretches in the shower. I personally stretch at the poker table, but I'm a crazy person. Or I do this stretch while I'm just walking down the street sometimes, where I just do it just as if I'm fidgeting. Just do this. The wrist stretch we talked about.
Do you still have your grip training set, the toes for the grip training?
Yeah.
So,
man,
that's a great thing to bring to the poker table. That's great,
It's coming to the poker table, the grip strength.
Yeah, so, no doubt you have there avoid fidgeting too, improving blood flow, improve the mobility on your fingers, and getting your grip strength work done,
I'm good, but what's not the people that need help are the typical poker players out there. Maybe be inspired a little bit. They probably think it's hard, but it doesn't sound that hard, to be honest, to get started or to get see serious progress for a while. Would you agree?
Definitely. I know that much of the poker players are extremely good with mathematics and with statistics, with visible results where you play a hand, you win the hand, and you see the chips being shipped to your direction. So, and you see the result immediately of what you're doing there because you won a hand, you see it there. You make a bet with somebody, he loses the bet, the money is to your direction, you know it's there. Mainly the healthy routine, not just out looking, but you gotta trust on the process. You gotta trust that you are doing the right thing and the results will come as a byproduct. You can get motivated by having a end goal. Oh, I'm very motivated because in the end of the year I want to be at under 10% body fat. So I'm super motivated with that idea, but I hate the process. That's difficult to stick with. Maybe once in life you get into a Terminator mode and you get it. But the motivation can get you started. The discipline will get you going. And the resilience will make you keep on doing it even on the days where you are the biggest underdog, So you gotta have a discipline and resilience. No doubt about that. Just motivation will not bring you too far, neither for too long. So understand that is a process to develop that type of joy for the process. Also has a lot of different ways to skin that cat to get into a reasonable shape. Don't need it to be just one way. You don't need to be just doing this type of, but you can experiment and try things that will work for you, that will talk more your language. Maybe play a sport, Maybe, let's say you don't like at all to go to the gym and you are really in a bad shape, but if you can play table tennis.
Paddle's one thing that people paddle.
For example,
for the bougie sport.
Right, how much better than doing nothing it is.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not saying that you're gonna be the god of Adonis that we were starting here of the beauty, but you will improve your life so much. You will give so much more life to your days. Not even days to your life, but life to your days, So
nice.
Doing a little bit of mobility,
Quality.
5 minutes of mobility training every day, it's a life-changing too, Have a set of elastics where you can travel with that resistance band.
I think
no excuse to not have a set of resistance band with you where you can do many exercises on the side of your bed in 5 minutes and 7 minutes every day. And boom, if you want, even bring some to the table, like use it like as a jungle distraction from the others,
actually. That's not a bad idea for me. I have a hard time seeing these guys do that, but it's getting long at the moment. Why don't you refer some sports or some simple things that these guys can do, wrap it up with that, to keep fit. Maybe I don't know. I feel a hard time seeing them do anything too crazy, but who knows? Actually, some people will for sure.
Right. So
basically, everything is kind of good.
I think if I have only 10 minutes a day where I could invest on that, I would drop out of my bed and be the first thing I do. Like literally roll out of my bed to the floor into push-up position and start from there, If I cannot do a push-up, I do with the knees on the floor. I do a couple of squats from the bed, I cannot do the full squat, do the squats, sit on the bed and standing, do a couple of jumping jacks, I do a couple of cat to call to get actual movement on your spine again, on your neck. If you do a couple of those plank, 7 minutes, 8, 10 minutes a day, it's a life change if you're not doing nothing. And I know that if you get that for a few weeks, as a human nature, humans just get out of the trees and are living in houses because we developed that little restless gene that want to improve in life. If not, we was the same as our ancestral cousins that we was in the trees until now, but we developed that little ability to want more. So if you are doing nothing and we stick for doing 5-7 minutes a day for a couple of weeks, I'm very sure that after that period, you'll be doing more without even notice it. Some people would think, Lincon, how can you do those 10 hours on your bike? How you can do those things? So I believe I did not start with that. Yeah, that was not how I started. I also start in a very different way in each sport, what I do. And to apply the discipline that you guys have on the poker into your health and knowing that this is the best investment you can do in your life, not just for you, but for everybody that loves you, you're doing for them too. Imagine if you are a young guy suffering from many diseases where you could be avoiding if you were more active and more aware of what you eat, what you drink, what you put on your nose or whatever. You know how much better will be the life of the ones that loves you, or your families and your best ones, because it's not easy to a parent, to a brother, to a sister, to see somebody that you love in a very bad shape, mentally and emotionally and physically, and know that they could be better if they have followed it better. But again, we should do that for ourselves. There's nobody that will do for you. You can hire the best coach with the best knowledge, whatever, but if you don't want it to yourself, you're wasting money.
Well, I think it also, I want to wrap things up in a second, but I think it also trains you to actually do things. I've noticed that there's I believe it was, who was the philosopher that said, what was his name? There's a Greek philosopher that said, you should have train your mind, but also train your body. Train your body, help you just do things, but train your body to help you to think in a certain direction. I begins with an S.
Was it Seneca? I think it was Seneca, not?
Yeah, Seneca, yeah.
I think so, yeah. One of the Stoic philosophers, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're constantly thinking all the time, I just don't know if there's any way to prove this. But I noticed I take action very fast. And maybe it's because I did so much working out. And there's definitely a lot of value to stopping to think, just fucking working out. And maybe it just helped me to discipline my mind so much. Yeah. Because I think there must be some correlation between doing exercise and just disciplining your body, for sure. Or getting at some point getting this mental discipline. I think it must carry over somehow, but it definitely I feel like that is super important, even though it's not exactly intelligence based. And I don't know if working out gave me that much of it, but it may have. So that makes quite a bit of sense.
It really does. And the resilience that you learn by working out, by challenging your body, by getting into uncomfortable situations at the gym, of course, now I'm not talking about stupid things and life-threatening things or whatever, but that the discomfort, that pushing hard there at the gym will help you so much in any other field of life where you will be able to lead with the discomfort with a more calm mind,
Mm-hmm.
That again comes to that philosophy that I was talking before about being a warrior in a gardener is better than to be a gardener in the war.
For sure.
Because if you are a true warrior, it's a very little amount of things that you bring you so less of your comfort zone that majority of your life will feel like you are in a garden. Yeah. No matter what happened, but the feeling of it, yeah.
I think so too. I try to put it that way. Well, let's wrap things up on that thought. Thank you so much, Lincon. If there's anything else you'd like to mention before we say goodbye, let me know.
Thank you, Dan.
Let us know.
Thank you, Dan. No, I still not have OnlyFans, so I think we wrap up from here.
All right, OnlyFans.
Thank you so much for having, brother. What a pleasure to chat with you.
I still don't have OnlyFans too, so.
Still not. We should to think on that. We should to think on that.
Think on that. All right, I'll get to that in a little bit.
I think I would sign for you if you had.
So get some subscribers. All right.
Come to London, brother. I'm missing to have some workouts with you here, yeah?
It's pre the OnlyFans. All right. See you later.
Take good care.
Bye.